we're back again on tabletop.com at our continuing coverage of Historicon 2019. I'm here with Chris from the Phalanx Consortium, and we're going to talk about some of the great content, some of the great materials that they have for sale here from Phalanx Consortium. Radio Dish Dash, Full Battle Rattle, Skirmish Sanguine. There's a lot of stuff going on here. This is also a big shout out to all of our subscribers and all of our viewers on SitRep, okay, because this is our serious modern content that we're talking about here. Okay, so Chris, tell us a little bit about what we have on offer here.
Okay. Well, the newest title is with the Ultra Combat series is Skirmish Normandy. Was released this spring, and that's basically fleshed out complete at this point in time. There will be some additional supplements coming forward. We also have Skirmish Sanguine, which has been out now since 2012, and it still has a very loyal following in the modern gaming community. We have our figure lines that are part of the Dish Dash line as well, and then Full Battle Rattle out of Canada with their modern Canadians. We'll actually have their Canadian lab will be here in the booth tomorrow. It's actually delayed in shipping, but it'll be here tomorrow, and so we'll have that on offer as well.
Step over here so I'm not standing in the way of the
For post-apocalyptic, we have Skirmish Ragers, which is a title that's been around now for a few years, but it's also a great sandbox game for those looking for a zombie experience that's a little bit different than most of the stuff out there. We're currently working on fulfillment of the ultra-modern Ultra Combat Kickstarter, which featured Ultra Combat ultra-modern Americans and Russians, as well as we're going to be working on some vehicles for that as well.
So if I understand correctly, Ultra Combat Normandy is squad-based combat in Normandy, but it's like the initial rollout, and what's coming out later is going to be a more modern themed part of Ultra Combat system.
Yes. The Ultra Combat system is meant to be more of a, basically once you're familiar with the system, the periods that we deal with in the 20th century will basically fall under that system umbrella, and they'll be differentiated based on the era that you're dealing with. So whether or not it's World War II, of course, we have the focuses with equipment and personnel and tactics for World War II. As you move into the modern era, we will have those differentiations for current tactics, the more effective use of a squad versus a platoon, in the sense of the differentiation between World War II and modern.
Yeah, more firepower usually means less people.
Yes.
I also see the source book here for Skirmish Africa. Yes. This is the source book that they wrote where they pretty much rewrote Africa.
That's
so
right.
that you could play in Africa and not run across various issues that sometimes you run across in modern gaming. How soon is too soon, that kind of thing.
That is correct. Basically, Colin went and redrew the map, so to speak. There's some similarities to some very old, imperial maps of Africa as far as the borders. But for the most part, he relabeled the countries. He also relabeled their alliances to different Western powers, specifically in a lot of ways from a game to be gamer friendly. There was a lack. In some areas there's a lack of figures and equipment. But if you realign things, then you can bring what's available in the marketplace as far as figures and equipment, vehicles and so forth into play and use it within the game. And you're not lacking going, oh, I would love to do this, but nobody makes the figures for it. So that's kind of was part of the logic around Skirmish Africa.
Yeah, in some of our SitRep podcasts that we've been doing, we've been talking with Alex from Full Battle Rattle. Gianez was asking him, why did you start making Canadian modern miniatures? The answer was basically because nobody else was yet.
Exactly, and as far as our lines are concerned, as far as what we do with Dish Dash, as far as in development of a figure line, since Sanguine started out as being such a micro-focused skirmish-level game where the individual mattered and so forth, we took the philosophy that the figures should all be unique. And so in our Ranger line from Mogadishu period, all those figures are different. There's not a single repeat of figures in the line.
In that system, each figure also has its own stats.
Right.
So, guys, if you have a group at home and you have a bunch of role-playing gamers who don't want to get into wargaming, Skirmish Sanguine might be that kind of a bridge system that gets a role-playing gamer into wargaming and vice versa.
Right, because it's meant to be narratively played. Colin comes from an RPG background, so he wanted people to tell a story in the game that they're playing. He wanted there to be a reason to go on the mission. There wanted to be, the the insurgents may be up to something different than you thought they were, and
so victory points.
And victory points. So he wanted that flavor to be there, that you'd sit around after the fact and say, hey, these guys got pinned down and I had to come in and medically evac a wounded soldier, and this is what happened. And I had a great experience in one game where I actually had to call in fighters on the deck to basically break the morale of the Taliban to get my wounded out. So that was one of those narrative stories that was told within the context of that patrol game. And so that's really a fun part of what Sengen offers.
And then if you really want to get serious about, maybe breaking out of the traditional military mold of wargaming, I'd also see plausible deniability here. Yes. This is a lot of spec ops that also gets into some underworld stuff, some organized crime or arms.
Cartels, blood diamonds, things of that nature. We're actually working on some additional scenarios for that. And dealing
a lot of battles over shipping containers.
Battles over shipping containers, battles where, we're not supposed to be there. And
hence the name, plausible deniability.
That's exactly correct.
So here, remember, Justin, to blur out my face and modulate my voice.
So that's, so that offer goes with the Sengen system. And that was something the fans of the game were saying, hey, we need something for special operations. So that was the births for plausible deniability.
Well, there you have it, folks. Chris, thanks very much for taking the time to talk to us. Guys, if you're into modern gaming, or if you're not into modern gaming, these are the systems and these are the products to look into as far as, that gateway to get into modern gaming. So on behalf of On Tabletop, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Please keep watching us through the rest of the day and into the weekend, and we'll talk to you later on in the event.